Hello again, listeners. We are back with part 2 of our Nintendo nostalgia episode with our special guest, the one, the only, my husband, Troy Combs. Yay!
The one and only.
My one and only. So we're just going to jump right back in. So y'all may remember on part 1 where we ended, Troy was kind of reviewing some of his personal favorites in the Nintendo world. And we were talking all about The Legend of Zelda starring Lyle.
My favorite video game character of all time.
So it's Katie's guess of the main character.
I need a fan who does like digital art to make me a Lyle in the style. Patrick could do it.
I think he probably
Someone could. That would be really good.
So anyway, we're just going to keep on continuing with Troy's list. So Legend of Zelda. So what's next on your list?
Okay, next on my list is my second favorite Nintendo game, another banger.
That made Katie giggle so much in part 1.
It's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which I'm sure a lot of listeners are familiar with. So here, we got some more handouts.
Okay.
Hand you that. There's
it's so light.
The box. I'm going to hand you the manual, and you're going to have a follow-on assignment in a minute.
I do have a question for you after you're done. Okay,
so this game was released in 1987 and then re-released in 1990. But when it was re-released, it was sort of rebranded. So the first sort of trivia question, what was the re-release called?
Okay, so this is the original
That's the original, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. The re-release, was it just called Punch-Out?
I think I know. I really don't. This is a total guess. Knockout?
No, that's a good guess, but Danny was right.
It was Punch-Out.
It was just Punch-Out.
Because they had an arcade game. The only reason I know this is because the arcade game I used to play at the roller skating rink was just Punch-Out. It was not Mike Tyson. Is that right?
I believe so. I know it was an arcade game. I don't know which one came first.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
But they basically dropped Mike Tyson from the re-release, and it was just called Punch-Out. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through.
Okay.
So what I want one of you to do with the manual.
Katie's showing us the pictures. If y'all have ever played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you know the beautiful artwork that is in the manual.
Right. Can you go ahead to page 13 in the manual? This is the manual. Authentic Mike Tyson's Punch-Out manual.
Okay. I'm there.
And this shows some of the different characters in the game, which this game was sort of popular for. It was like a very refined game. It had like awesome graphics, awesome music, and very colorful characters. So can you read some of the names of the characters?
Yeah, so these are Little Mac's opponents, and we've got Francis Glassjaw, who is Glass Joe. Then we've got the German Steel Machine, Von Kaiser. And then a tropical chief. King Hippo.
Right.
Out.
And then, are we sure this isn't a nostalgic or problematic?
It's becoming one.
Yeah, I told you this one gets a little darker.
Yeah, okay. And then the final one is the Reckless Bald Bull. And guess what his name is?
What?
Bald Bull.
And then read it like in the paragraph below that. There's some more names.
You'll also meet a bunch of other hard-punching veterans in the ring, including Piston Honda, Don Flamenco, Great Tiger, Mr. Sandman, Soda Popinski, and Super Macho Man. Are you tough enough to go to the top and face world champion Mike Tyson?
So you can tell from that list, I mentioned it's known for like sort of all of the colorful characters, but very stereotypical of like, hey, the Japanese character is Piston Honda, and or the Pacific Islander is King Hippo, and he doesn't know his
cultural appropriation,
right?
Yeah, I mean even the German one, Von Kaiser.
And he looks
stereotypes.
the German guy looks like he's straight out of like World War I kind of guy. So this article says the Punch-Out fighters were original in their day, as sports games had never really used narrative techniques to bring the characters to life. Let's be honest, though, part of the nostalgic appeal of Punch-Out is that it skirts a politically correct line that would be much tougher to cross today. It's not the video game equivalent of Amos and Andy, but Little Mac's pugilist opponents don't exactly scream cultural sensitivity either.
Pugilist. Wow. What's that word mean?
Fighter, basically.
Oh.
Look at Troy knows lots of words.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. You know, it's one of the things, like, as a kid, it's just, like, all so cool, like, all these different characters, but in reflection, you know, maybe it could have been handled a little differently.
So nostalgic and problematic, as most things that we are discovering from the 80s and 90s are.
Absolutely. And it came out, you said 87 and then 90?
Yes.
Okay.
So
But I still remember some of the problematic stuff in the 1990 game.
right. So we haven't really gotten to the problematic part yet. I mean, that is problematic, but it gets worse.
Oh, but wait. There's more.
So
wait.
all of those characters were exactly the same in the 1990.
Yeah, I was like, I remember all those names.
Right. The only difference was that they dropped Mike Tyson.
Okay.
We'll talk about some of that. So one other just kind of fun question. What was Soda Popinski's original name? So this was in the arcade game before this. So you're right.
Oh.
Soda
I'm not gonna
Popinski,
remember.
by the way, he was
Soda
like
Popinski, that I remember.
like everyone's favorite character. He was the Russian dude, but he was just really funny because he was always drinking his soda pop.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And
Hold on,
saying
I'll
funny
pull up an
things
image.
between the fights.
Little Russian soda.
Yeah. So this probably, again, it goes into a little bit of stereotyping.
Was it like Vladimir or something?
No, it was actually Vodka Drunkinski.
What? That sounds like
True
a fraternity
story.
nickname.
Yeah.
Vodka Turkinski.
Right. So
I'm calling somebody that today.
the stereotype was that he was like the Russian dude always drinking vodka.
Oh, got it.
And that's how it was in the arcade game.
Oh my God.
But
Oh, yes, there he is. And it says pop.
Yeah.
P-O-P.
Not vodka.
yeah, so in the Nintendo version, they wanted to make it more family friendly and didn't want to include the drinking references. So this is why you have this Russian dude that's drinking soda pop all the time.
Okay. And it's funny, when I read it, I thought it was a Polish name because I didn't know much about it. And like, that's my cultural heritage.
Right.
And sometimes Polish people are also accused of drinking a lot, including vodka. So there is that. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Okay, so the next question. Do you know why the game was rebranded? Why was Mike Tyson removed from it?
I think it could be one of two reasons.
Yeah, I'll let you take the floor.
One
here.
could just be a money thing, that it cost a lot to have his name on it, and maybe he had gained even more notoriety in the meantime. They just don't want to pay for his name anymore. Another could be, I mean, this man has always had scandal.
Yeah.
I know this is too early for like biting the ear
Yeah.
and all that, but maybe there was, wasn't there some domestic abuse?
That's what I was thinking too.
I bet that was it.
That's when he got in trouble he got arrested, didn't he?
Yes. Okay. So there's kind of a lot to unpack here. First of all, I'd say you were correct with your first thought that it was sort of money related. So they signed Mike Tyson when he was very young in 1987, like right before he became super popular. So they were kind of had good timing on both ends of this. So they signed him for kind of cheap when he was super popular, and then he exploded and like won the title and everything. And then they chose not to renew the contract. So after 3 years, they just let the contract expire, and then they released the game without his likeness. But sort of simultaneously in that same year, everything fell apart for Mike Tyson. So he lost the title to Buster Douglas in 1990, and then was arrested for rape in 1991. Yep. So I think there was some domestic violence stuff later, but sort of directly tied to this time frame was kind of even heavier allegations. So let me read this real quick. Thanks to Tyson's legal woes and increasingly troublesome behavior, Nintendo didn't renew his contract, allegedly pulling all the remaining games off the shelves. The company's timing was once again impeccable. And that's kind of in dispute, I think. I think it was really just that his contract expired before this, but it sort of all happened at the same time.
So in a way, it was sort of lucky for Nintendo from a public relations standpoint, because imagine re-upping it and paying them more money, and you got his name on all this stuff,
Right.
and then all these things happen.
Yeah, so kind of throughout, Nintendo has made smart strategic decisions, but also had lucky timing, I think.
Okay.
Tyson's invincibility crashed down on the Tokyo canvas in February 1990 when a 42-1 underdog named Buster Douglas ended Tyson's unbeaten streak by knocking him out in the 10th round. The fast and hard fall of Tyson has given Punch-Out a unique spot in gaming history. Unlike, say, the Madden franchise, there is only one version, and there will only be one.
Yes, we're not coming back from that. We are not.
Right. So this is where, once again, it gets a little bit darker, I guess. So
we were going darker than arrested for rape?
Yes. Well, we're just going to talk a little bit about the case. So just kind of a trigger warning.
Yeah.
If you don't want to hear, about this rape case, then just fast forward 5 minutes or whatever.
Okay.
And this, I think this is important to just kind of understand the history of this game. It kind of all ties together. And again, it goes into the sort of nostalgic versus problematic discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyson was arrested in July 1991 for the rape of 18-year-old Desiree Washington in an Indianapolis hotel room. The rape trial lasted from January 26 to February 10th, 1992. Under direct examination, Tyson claimed that everything had taken place with Washington's full consent, and he claimed not to have forced himself upon her. When he was cross-examined, by the lead prosecutor, Tyson denied claims that he had misled Washington and insisted that she wanted to have sex with him. Tyson was convicted on the rape charge on February 10th, 1992, after the jury deliberated for nearly 10 hours.
Dang.
Alan Dershowitz,
Sounds right.
who has defended clients such as O.J. Simpson, Jeffrey Epstein, Julian Assange, and Harvey Weinstein.
No. Boo.
Yeah, what a list.
Ouch.
Acting as Tyson's counsel, filed an appeal urging error of law in the court's exclusion of evidence of the victim's past sexual conduct.
What?
Right. So he was trying to use her past sexual conduct as evidence, and the court wouldn't allow it.
Well,
thank God.
Yeah, because
that does not matter. Who
does not
the
matter.
hell cares what you did in the past?
Right.
That doesn't matter.
You're talking about this one instance.
Correct.
And if it happened or not, or what the circumstances were. Just
Right.
that. So it's
icky.
good that they excluded that.
Yeah. So Icky is right.
Icky
kind of
all
around
around
this whole case. So
Gross.
then on March 26, 1992, Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison, and he was released in March 1995 after serving less than 3 years of a sentence.
Wow.
So that is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I know it's sort of like not directly related to this video game discussion, but in some ways I think it is.
Well, it is.
Right, because it's like such an amazing game, like nostalgic memory for me of just loving this game, loving all the characters, being able to face Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson at the time was such an icon on the level of like Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson, like these athletes that were just like amazing to watch. So I think over time we tend to kind of remember the good things and sort of tune out the bad things. Like I always knew there was stuff there, but I kind of like, I was like, it's just a game or whatever. And now going back and reading this, it's like, wow, maybe it's not someone that should be celebrated so much. And, it's kind of returned into pop culture a lot more recently as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we do all the time on this show when we revisit. We're like,
Yeah. And just this idea, especially at the time, I know we've talked about how we probably want to do an episode just in general on the celebrity endorsement. How that was such a big deal. And really just putting people's faces on things and elevating them to that level. I don't know. Like, I think it's cool to celebrate athletic achievements or theatrical achievements or whatever, but it's hard when we sort of idolize people so much, because then you can have, this is a great example of when this person is on a game that's all over the world, and then very quickly after you discover like what a terrible person / role model they are. And it's just, I think it's a good reminder. I mean, we still do it today.
Oh, yeah.
We totally do.
Yeah.
But there was a huge rise in this. I mean, even Michael Jordan, he's got some dark stuff, some real dark stuff.
Yeah.
And he's still, he's the GOAT, he's the whatever. He's sort of like, just let him be, you know? And that's a whole other discussion for another day.
For real.
But to your point, I'm glad, I think it's good that we've delved into that, because it's important to do for all the things that are nostalgic to us.
Yes.
Music, movies, video games, board games,
because
toys.
I mean, because you have to acknowledge the problematic piece. And it's easy to not, especially if you're not part of the group that's affected by the problematic crap. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
it's easy for you to just be like, whatever, it's a game, blah, blah, blah. But anyway.
Yeah. So
But it's not what you should do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's difficult, and it's still one of my favorite games. It's still a game that you can just put in and play anytime. If like friends come over, whatever, like, oh, I haven't seen this in forever. That's like the game they want to go to. And the Mike Tyson version is like the OG version, which is like, in my opinion, like the more collectible, like cool thing, like the authentic thing I had as a kid. But then there's this other version available that he's not on, which is also, out there. So maybe there's, another option, but.
So wait a second. Did you just say you have friends who still come over and are like,
Well,
cool,
no.
let's play this game?
My
Is that what he said?
My teenagers' friends think, we should
anytime
probably...
like anyone comes over and they're like, oh, I didn't realize you had all this stuff.
People are always shocked.
Or family members or whatever. And and then it's like, if you want to like pick up and play something, Mike Tyson's Punch Out is the one to just like quickly get into and like get that
or
hit
like
of
Mario.
nostalgia.
Could someone like me enjoy Mike Tyson's Punch Out, or just Punch Out, but you have Mike Tyson?
I don't like it anymore. I don't like violent games, so I hate it.
It's more like cartoon.
But I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a Mario person.
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
okay, we'll pause for a second before you move to your next game, because you talked about friends coming over. I have to I don't know if I should describe it or if I should tell Troy to describe it, is the setup we have. So we were a military family for a bajillion years, right? So this is the first house we've lived in where we're not moving for a while. And that we actually own a house now. Like, we haven't done that in a while. But Troy finally every time we moved, he's like, I just want a space where I can set up all my games and have multiple consoles set up. He finally has it, everyone.
Oh my God.
Okay, it's like midlife goals, right? So I said, I don't care. You can have your setup space. I just don't want all the crap in our like main living area. But I have to be able to work out in the space. We have this very weird space. It's like video games and weights.
It's very niche.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very funny because it's a loft space over our garage. It's perfect setup for what he wanted. It's one of the selling points of our house, because he walked up there and was like,
oh yeah,
finally,
it's happening.
Yes.
So tell everyone how you have the space set up.
Well, it's like you described. It's sort of a multi-purpose space, but it's really kind of a game room, TV room, and it's big enough to have everything. So so there's a couch, there's a desk, which now is taken over by baseball cards mostly, and then 2 shelves with all the different games and stuff. I have
like bookshelves. He says 2 shelves. It's 2 bookshelves.
Yeah, with
full of his faves.
NES, GameCube, N64, PS2, a bunch of stuff on those shelves,
and then display items.
Yeah, and then there's like the Monica closet with all that stuff, and then just like the entertainment center with probably like 6 different consoles all connected.
Yeah, so he's got a GameCube, a regular Nintendo. Well, no. Tell them what you also have for the Nintendo, though.
The other Nintendo.
The other Nintendo.
Well, there's two things. One, I have like an old CRT TV with the Nintendo and N64 hooked up to it. Well,
it's like this. I should take a picture of it. It's an old like TV he got from a garage sale. He came home so excited.
I got it at a thrift store.
Or thrift store.
For like $3
$3.
or something.
And it's like
That's
this
pretty awesome.
old school analog TV, which has the rabbit ears and all the things, because the graphics don't translate when you plug it into a new TV.
Like an adapter or...
So he has multiple of some consoles.
So it's not just the console, there's multiple TVs.
Yeah, so we have
There's two
it's on a
TVs.
TV cart.
Okay.
It's on a TV cart so you can move it around the room.
That is amazing. I personally, I know you probably don't want to share your living space with all our listeners, but I personally,
I will show you.
I mean, I'll probably just come over at some point.
I know.
Too.
I know. Isn't that weird? You've never been to my
Never been
house?
to your house, except I dropped off Cooper once, but I didn't
Oh yeah,
come inside.
that's so weird. Oh my gosh,
And I was
so
like,
weird.
oh, you guys live here, cool. All right, bye.
It's so weird. I can't believe that. Okay, well that's gonna happen soon. So we have that little TV where you play the OG Nintendo games, which people go crazy for of our age.
Yeah.
They walk in, are like, because it's like you're back, you're transported back in time.
Totally.
Then we have like our big normal screen modern TV hooked up to all these other, I don't know how many I think there's 6 consoles there.
Yeah, something like that. A little bit of everything.
So he has his modern day stuff, and then GameCube and something else and blah. And then he has all these Game Boys on display, and so.
Yeah, and then the like right half of the room, if you're facing TV, is taken over by workout equipment,
A workout bench
and weights and whatnot,
and
so
all my accessories.
it's multi-purpose.
Very weird
space.
Very weird space.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Okay, sorry. We probably should have like done that in the
Originally, but look, that's your reward for tuning in for part 2.
Hey, now you get
You
to
got
know.
to hear about
Now everybody's
this.
gonna be like,
You
I
heard
heard
about
hang
the,
out.
Yeah, the TV cart and the rabbit ears. Yes.
And if anybody that you work with, Hunt, you work with Hunt. Anybody you work with listens to this, they're gonna be shocked at how cool you are.
Yeah, I know. I'm revealing all of this secrets.
To all of our 50 followers.
Yeah, all of them
Yeah.
are like, look out. No. Hey, look, I'm predicting the video game one is going to
It's gonna go. It's gonna be fire. It's gonna be a banger.
No, I can't. It was just, I'm just looking at Troy in his Zelda shirt. He's holding the little mic, and he's like, this one was a banger. And I couldn't take it anymore. I had to laugh.
This
Okay.
episode is gonna be a banger.
It is.
Watch.
They both are. They
Everybody
both are.
loves some video games.
Everyone does.
Even
Yes.
Katie,
Yeah.
and she didn't even know it.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know it.
Okay, so you ready for the next?
I think we should go to the next one.
Okay,
yes.
So this one is a little more lighthearted
Ooh, yes.
than the last one.
One of my favorites.
And this one shouldn't take as long, but this
Nice.
is Super Mario Brothers 2, which is another favorite.
I love this game so much.
So, question: what game was Super Mario Brothers 2 based on?
What do you mean?
Getting inquisitive looks.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was based on itself. What do you mean? Was it based on another game?
Yes.
Oh, because it's very different than Mario Bros.
Right,
Yeah, it's
so
very
it's-
different.
I
It's like
think
a
I
dream
know.
sequence.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not then. I was going to say Donkey Kong. Based
No.
on these graphics.
No, have
no,
you ever
but I
played
mean,
it,
it is
Katie?
some of the same creators.
I'm just looking at the pictures.
You would like this one. This game you would enjoy.
Yeah, so it's got a little like different kind of template and characters than Super Mario
no,
Brothers.
that's
It
the
looks
wrong
totally
company.
different.
Yeah, you can
I
actually
was going to say a
be.
different one, but it's not a Nintendo game.
You can pick your character in this game, so
Oh,
you can be
fun.
Princess or Mario or Luigi or Toad.
Right. One of the things I loved about the game was being able you can instead of just being Mario
Yeah.
or Luigi, you could pick from 4 characters.
Yeah, and they
pretty
each
cool.
had their own special thing.
And the best character was the princess.
Yeah, it was because she
'Cause-
could
Oh, yeah.
float.
Yeah, because you could float with her with her dress, and it was like what it is all about. So that was the go-to. Character.
Everybody wanted to be
She was like
princess.
OP.
But beware, you've never seen creatures like this. Shy Guys and Tweeters, Ninja and Bezos. Do you say Bezos? Is that how you say that?
I don't know.
And you've never had an adventure like this. Only cunning and speed can save you now.
Yes.
I love
Wow.
that.
So, do you have an answer to the question?
Oh, I don't know because all I know is this was one of my favorite Mario games, and it is very different than the other Marios.
Right. So the answer is a game called Doki Doki Panic.
What?
Oh, I was just about to say that.
On the tip of your tongue, I could tell.
Right. So this.
I'm gonna look it up and We're gonna look and see what it looks like.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a story here. The original Super Mario Brothers was like super successful, and Nintendo wanted to like capture that or follow that up as quickly as possible. They did release a direct sequel to Super Mario Brothers called Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan.
Oh,
but they sort of deemed that it was too difficult for the U.S. market. So they pulled another game they were working on and just kind of added on the Mario characters and called it Super Mario Brothers 2 and released that in North America. And it was a big success.
Okay.
So in 1986, Nintendo released the highly anticipated follow-up to 1985's massive hit Super Mario Brothers, a direct sequel entitled Super Mario Brothers 2. However, Nintendo of America was trying to find its footing in the American video game market. They needed a big hit to keep things going and worried that the Japanese version of Super Mario Brothers 2 was just too difficult to be a big success in the States.
these dumb Americans.
Right. So it kind of tells you a little bit about how the markets were different. In 1993, the Japanese version of Super Mario Brothers 2, the difficult game, was finally released internationally as Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels.
Ah.
So they
right.
right. So they took this game, Doki Doki Panic, which they were already developing, was almost done, and added on the Mario stuff, and then released it in North America. And then years later, they did release the Japanese sequel with a different name.
So I'm looking at the characters, and like they have like a side by side comparison, and it's real same. It's just now it's like these other character. I'll show you.
Okay.
It had sort of like an Arab theme.
I was gonna say it looks like some cultural appropriation.
Right. Which
The
Doki Doki.
Doki
Panic.
Doki. Okay, I was gonna say just based on the name.
Yeah, that's the cartridge.
Oh. Okay.
yeah, it had an Arab theme, which is why like there's all these desert scenes and you're like fly on the carpets and all that stuff.
Got it.
And I just kind of thought of something I didn't mention with the Mike Tyson's characters. Both of these games, with the cultural appropriation or whatever, were developed in Japan by Japanese developers. Whatever that's worth. They did, have Japanese characters as well. So I don't know what that means, if it's a sign of the time or maybe how they viewed cultures differently or what they thought the American audience wanted, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah.
But
Probably
yeah,
that.
I mean, they were hits, so there you go.
The power of $1.
Yeah, so that was really it on Mario 2. The takeaways kind of is that it's totally different from the first one, but it's still really good. And it's one of my favorites because you could play with or choose different characters, and each character, like you mentioned, had a different sort of strength, so different kind of play style or whatever. So.
Princess was the best, but also it is, in my opinion, the hardest of all the Mario games. Don't you think?
The second one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've played it so much that it's
you
not
beat
that
it?
hard. Oh yeah. It's not that,
Me. Oh yeah. I never could beat it. I beat the first Mario, and I beat Mario 3, but I could never beat Mario 2.
it's
I
just a
never
matter.
won.
You just got to grind. Just a matter
I
of time.
did. It did not
I
matter.
mean, you own it.
Yeah.
I don't have the. I do not have the time nor patience to dedicate to beating
'Cause,
Super Mario 2.
This could still happen for you.
I don't. I don't want to do it now. I'll play it, but I get like bored. I'll be like bored and be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. No desire to beat it at this point.
No,
Gotcha.
I like to play it, but I don't care about. And I'm not a super competitive person either.
Right.
So like it drives Troy crazy to like invest so much time in a game and then like not conquer it. And I would just be like, I'm just done. And our kids do that, and it drives him crazy that they just give up.
Right. Once I start a game, I have to finish it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with a book. You don't want to read like the first half of a book and then.
But there have been times I have reached the point in my life now where if I am not jamming with a book, most of the time I'll just be like, I don't care. I'm not finishing it, which I used to never do that. But
So what is the one Nintendo game that you do like to play occasionally?
well, I like to play several, but Mario 3, I love it. Oh, Dr. Mario?
Dr. Mario, yeah.
I'm terrible at it. And Trey will say, yes, you are. I am so bad at it. And my sister used to kick my butt at this game, which is ironic because she works in the medical field.
There you go. It was an early sign.
Yeah.
But oh man, I could never beat her. And I wanted to, and I still can't. Like, we'll play. Troy cannot stand if my sister and I play video games together because we are so ridiculous and not serious. He will not play with us.
No, that's not true. We have some good competitions until you get frustrated and give up.
I know. And I'll just quit. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, I'm just done.
Oh, that would totally be me.
Yeah.
I do that with board games.
I'd be like, no, just
I'll
put
get
yours on the
frustrated.
easiest possible
yeah. So
level.
with Dr. Mario, have you ever played this game?
I've never played that one.
So you've played Tetris before?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in the same vein of Tetris, except you're playing against somebody and you have pill bottles.
Okay.
Okay, you're trying to, and they have various colors. You're trying to stack the pills to eliminate rows, just like you do in Tetris.
Okay.
But when you're playing, another person, you can pick the difficulty level.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I play with Troy, I'm on like easy level and he's on like super crazy hard. And he still beats me.
He still wins, yeah.
Because
Go
what
figure.
I do is like I get frustrated, the pills will get too high, and
He's
I'll just like
stressed.
forget it, and I just stack them. And he's like, "No, just try." I'm like, "I'm done."
You just let it like overflow
Yeah.
and like die or whatever it is.
yeah.
So there's a level for all abilities. Anyone can enjoy it.
There is. It is fun. You would like it.
I
It's
probably
a
would
fun
like
one.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very fun. I still like it, even though I'm terrible
Because
at
I
it.
liked Tetris and then I liked Candy Crush for a long time.
Oh,
on the
yeah,
phone.
you would
I
like Dr. Mario.
loved Candy Crush, so I
You
would
would like
probably
Dr.
like
Mario.
it. Until one day I was like, ugh, I'm over Candy Crush, and I've never played it again.
Oh, so
I
you're
was
like
just-
me.
I just was like, ugh, this is boring now.
Yeah.
Or I don't care about this anymore.
I'm done.
And then I moved on. Anyway, go on. Moving on.
Okay, so
Speaking of-
that was all I had on games with a little
Okay.
kind of
Love
bonus
that.
topic there, Dr. Mario. Next thing, the really last thing I have to talk about is Gameboys.
Yes.
So
Did your brother have a Game Boy?
Yes, my
Okay.
youngest brother did.
we have more
Gameboy Color.
More show and tell.
Yeah, I'm telling you, how many Game Boys do you have in your collection?
oh gosh, I don't know.
He didn't even know. That's
Probably
how
like
many.
5.
Really?
Oh, look.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know you had this. He has the see-through that was on everything in the 90s, everyone.
Yes.
The see-through plastic where you could see the gears and all the things. I had a phone like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like sort of the callback to the Pagers episode.
Yes.
There was like
yeah.
a time in gaming where everything was this like translucent
I think
color.
it was all technology. Was
Yeah,
that.
right. So Game Boys and 64s, and then you had like the iMacs on, of course, pagers and cell phones. Everything from that sort of time period. They had
Yeah.
that.
You have 2 games in here. Did you do this on purpose? He has 2 games in here that I actually had with my Game Boy.
Yes, so you can turn them on and enjoy the sights and sounds.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, ready?
The- on
Katie's
the-
never. Wait.
I don't even know how to
She
turn it on.
On the right,
touching
on the
A
right
button.
hand side, there's a little click.
got it.
It says
Yep.
on
Yep.
and off.
And it's on off now. So therefore, step 1.
Yep.
Ooh,
Oh
so
yeah.
fun.
You get the nostalgia.
Okay,
hit
so
just from
Katie,
that.
what game do you have?
I have Kirby's.
Maybe should we
This is
switch?
hard
Because
to
that one's
see.
hard to play.
I have Kirby's Dream
Either-
Land.
yeah.
Katie has Kirby's Dream Land,
What do you have?
and I have Super Mario Land.
Let me do that one.
Yeah, I think because Kirby's kind of hard because he has like a little vacuum sucky mouth.
Wow.
I know
Okay.
that's gonna take a
Yeah.
turn here.
Does the screen get brighter?
Yeah, so-
or-
Katie's like
You are now experiencing the struggle,
the struggle of Game Boy.
of having a screen that is not backlit.
I see it now. Okay. 1989.
And also, we have middle-aged eyes, and
that
not,
too. I mean,
Yeah.
I get my
I'm
glasses.
struggling
oh, there
too.
He is.
Look.
There he is. Oh, there's a mushroom. Oh no, I died.
That's Kirby's mouth. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually can. Through the headphones, I can hear it. Wait, is mine making noise?
It should be. You might have turned. You might have turned the volume down. It's on
I
the
probably
side.
did when I was trying to turn.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Super
I
Mario
love
Land.
Kirby because he's so cute. And he sucks things in his mouth and then spits them out.
Oh, I'm back. Okay, I'm back.
Sorry.
And wait, how do I jump? I don't even know how. Oh,
Troy is dying laughing at Katie. She can't see it. She's shielding her eyes.
Trying to see the
She
screen.
doesn't know how to
okay, here I
jump.
go. I figured out how to jump. I did it.
You need 2 hands though, Katie.
She has to shield her eyes with one hand.
She's trying to play this Game Boy with one
glare,
finger,
the glare,
one
you guys.
hand. Okay, you want to see Kirby?
You know who would like this? Tegan. She would love this.
Here.
She plays like handheld Yahtzee and stuff. I see him.
when he sucks in stuff and then spits it out. So, she's like, and that's weird. Okay.
You can keep that one. I'll keep the non-weird one with the plumber who jumps on mushrooms and I guess he's in a desert right now. Oh, that's what you were saying. Right. Oh, wait, no, but this is Super Mario.
Yeah, that's a different, that's Super Mario Land.
Okay, game over. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm done.
I'm gonna go to do what I know how to do, the on and off.
There you go.
Here we go.
Oh, I love it.
So you notice how difficult it is to see the screen.
Yes.
And I mentioned like that was the struggle back in the day, especially imagine, riding in the car at night or something, and you're trying to like go by the street lights and actually see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So like having a Game Boy back in the day, it was like amazing. It's like now I have these games that are portable. I can take these on trips or whatever. But then obviously there was trade-offs. It's like batteries were terrible. They would die. The screen was terrible. You couldn't see it. So I had like the contraption you attached to it that had a light on it and like magnified the screen.
Yeah,
and
it's
everything.
like a book light, but for a Game Boy.
I need that for life.
Right.
Where do I get that?
Yeah, I had all this stuff like accessories, put in a case and carry the case around.
Oh yeah, I had a case with all the games.
That's
and all
awesome.
That.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. But you could see like this is the Game Boy Color, which we looked at, which let's see, this released in 1998.
Okay.
The original Game Boy released in 1989. So
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Game Boy really had staying power. So for like 10 years, there were some competitors or whatever, but of course the Game Boy was like the king of the handhelds at the time. Game Boy Color launched in 1998, and then Game Boy Advanced in 2001. And all these are backwards compatible, so you can play like the old games on them.
On the newer one. I had the OG Game Boy.
Right.
Like from like I got it in like the early 90s. I was in middle school.
I did too. And that's one that apparently somewhere along the way I sold at a pawn shop or something.
You don't have it
I don't have it anymore. No. So these ones that you were playing were things I found at like, one of them I got at a yard sale for $5 and one I got at a thrift store for $5. And they're, pretty valuable-ish now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super nostalgic, something that like lasted for a long time, and a lot of people have good memories of.
2 quick questions, and I don't know if you might not have this in your research, but where did the name Nintendo come from? And then Game Boy, what does that mean? Does it mean because it's like a child's gaming system? Do you know the answer to those?
Yeah, not exactly. I know that Nintendo was an old company well before video games. They made playing cards. So there was like they played card game thing for like back into the 1800s, I think, which somebody can correct me on that. But then they did all kinds of different business ventures throughout the years to try to find success before they got into video games. They did other toys, other game type things, and then eventually got into video games.
Okay.
Because it's called, the original console, you'll see, is Nintendo Entertainment System. So we got used to just saying, "Oh, did you have a Nintendo?" But really, that's the name of the company. That's not the name of the console.
Right.
Yeah.
And the NES was so popular, in our like when we were younger, growing up, our parents or whatever, to them, any video game was just Nintendo.
Right.
But it is the name of the company, and the follow-on consoles have different names or whatever.
Yeah. So it sounds like they try to diversify their business, and maybe even now they have other things under that Nintendo umbrella. But we know it for this.
I think now they're so entrenched in video games, that's it. All they do. I'm not sure if they do other ventures or not, but it's primarily video games. They're like one of the lead, companies. As far as the name Game Boy, I don't know where that came from. I think it's just like a cutesy name for like a
small one
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. So the last kind of Price is Right thing.
Oh,
how much was the Game Boy at release?
And it was $89?
Yes.
When it came out, did it come with a game?
Yes, it did actually. It came with Tetris.
Oh, it did come with Tetris. Yeah, mine came with Tetris.
All right. You want to say yours first?
Well, let's see. If the console was
$179.
Yeah. I want to say it was like $80.
I guess I would say 75. So we're kind of close.
Very good. It was $89.99.
Oh, closest without going over.
Yeah.
I should have said 85
I
instead
knew
of
it was
75.
close to 100 because I remember I got it I have a picture of me, which I think we posted on our social before. The Christmas I got it, I'm wearing like it was a banger Christmas. I had on my suede jacket, my shiny new rollerblades, and my Game Boy.
Yes, because I think I was just distracted by the rollerblades in that picture.
And my beautiful hair
and the jacket.
Sweatpants.
But we'll have to look at that again. Yes. That's so exciting.
And the wood paneling in my living room walls. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you had to.
Yeah.
So the OG Game Boy was $89.99. That's $229 today.
Ooh.
Which maybe feels kind of like a lot for that.
Well, but how much is like a
Well, like a Switch?
I guess they don't really have like DS
comparable
anymore.
Yeah, a DS I can't remember, but I want to say they were like $250 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Game Boy Color, which again was about 10 years later, it was $79.99. So it was actually cheaper, but by that time the technology was a little old.
And those are smaller. My OG Game Boy was bigger.
Yeah, it's smaller. So I don't remember what that law is, but like as you know, every year you can fit more onto a chip or whatever.
Yeah.
So that it shrunk, and also obviously it's called Game Boy Color, so we played games in color. The original one didn't.
I did not see any color on that game. Was there color in that game?
There was sort of, but the game that was in there was an original Game Boy game.
Right, so there wasn't color in that one. It wasn't made for...
It's not just my
It was
eyes.
an OG game.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay.
Right. So then the Game Boy Color would be $152 today, so
I mean,
not too shabby.
That's not bad. Yeah,
it checks.
I mean, it's like how much do you spend on a phone? Which is where you do a lot of gaming and stuff. And you spend way more than that.
Way more.
I guess phones do more,
Right.
but still. Yeah, still.
Yeah, so I think I didn't mention at the beginning that first of all, that's really all I have on Game Boy stuff, but just a couple sort of cleanup or wrap up items. The original Nintendo released in 1985. They produced it all the way up until 1995.
Whoa.
So it was around forever. Let me just make sure I'm not lying to you.
It obviously survived.
Yeah, it was produced until 95.
Pretty hardy. Yeah.
But the Super Nintendo, which was the predecessor or the sequel, it was released in 1991. So there's some overlap. They were producing both at the same time. But this all goes well into the 90s. And then N64, which we mentioned at the beginning, was 1996. And then the GameCube came out in 2001. So that's kind of the sort of lineage or whatever of these Nintendo consoles. Again, this is a broad topic. We focus mostly on Nintendo. There's tons of other things we can talk about in here. We didn't even mention Sega and like the OG console wars and all that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to have you back for all of those things. I think.
Right.
But Troy's specialty is Nintendo.
Yeah, it's my
that's
fave.
kind of his specialty. But I will say, I feel like Nintendo is the Xennial, and I honestly feel like the OG NES. And even the Super Nintendo a little bit, because the Super Nintendo came out what year?
91.
Yeah. So I was in middle school. I remember when I was in high school, one of my friend's younger siblings had the Super Nintendo, but it wasn't like you never had one, right, Troy?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So I feel like the NES and the Game Boy are like belong to the Xennial time period for
so too.
sure. Like that is the nostalgia for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any games you don't have? You mentioned an original Game Boy, like if you could find one for the right price. I'm sure you can buy them, but they're probably crazy expensive. But are there any games not in your collection that you're like hoping to get at some point?
Yes, there are, but they're only the things that are super expensive and super rare that are really difficult to find. I'm at a point now where I'm like kind of good. I'm not like actively searching for stuff or whatever, because I have all this stuff already that I don't even have enough time to play. And like all of my old favorites and everything I already have. But there are some like rarities, super collectible things like stadium events.
Oh yeah.
Which, was like a $20,000 game or something ridiculous.
Wow.
Or like the Nintendo World Championship cartridge. Those kind of things are like would be awesome to have, but I just probably never will, because they're like...
It's like if you stumble upon it in a thrift shop or at a garage sale, great.
Yes,
but you never would, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be like the one in a million find.
Yeah, that would be really rare to just
and there's other games that are in the $500 to $1,000 range that you might be able to find, you know, lying around that are still out there that I would love to have to just, you know, as a collection, but not something I need to like actively go out and buy to spend that much money on, you know.
Got it.
So,
And, I was
go
just going to say he brought up a good point when he was saying, like, I have more than I can even play. This is an interesting collectible.
Right.
Because a lot of collectibles, even like the baseball card, you'll have to talk to my husband because he has boxes of baseball cards and they're organized and everything. But I've always said, let's do an inventory. Let's see. But I mean, it's probably over like 100,000 cards. I'm not kidding. But those types of collectibles, even toys, that I mean, like Barbies, for example, you get them and they sort of sit.
Yeah.
But with video games, they are, in theory, unless you're really trying to keep it in the box to keep it great because it's so rare, you're actually playing these. So it's a different kind of collecting.
Yes, completely. And there's different levels of collecting. Like Daniel will say I have a lot of junk or whatever, but I try to keep it down to only stuff that I use or stuff that is meaningful to me, you know, stuff that brings you joy or whatever. So it's not too out of hand. There's, you know, others, you know, however people want to spend their money is their business. Some people just want the entire catalog. They want every single game, even if they don't ever intend to play it. They like to see it on their shelf and have it organized or whatever. And then there's a whole nother genre of sealed game collecting, which is like, I'm never going to take it out of the box. It's just going to sit there and I'm going to admire it. But so whatever people like to do, I like to only have things that I'm going to actually, you know, interact with, or it's something, you know, sentimental to me.
Yeah, I like that.
I will say, we mentioned in part 1 when Troy started his adventure of, he won't let me say that he's a collector because he feels like that's too official. He says he's
could say whatever you want.
Hobbyist. like a hobbyist. But in my opinion, he's a collector. So whenever he started in 2015 time frame, and we watched that documentary, Nintendo Quest, it was so interesting because how many original NES games are there?
There's like 700 or 800. I don't know the exact number.
But I thought he had a list of like the first 200 or something like that.
I don't remember. I know his goal was to collect all of them.
His goal was to collect all of the OG NES games without using the internet.
Yeah.
It was so he drove around the country.
Oh my God.
Would go to, and this was right before the big boom of retro gaming collecting started. And it was so fascinating because he drove around to all these garage sales, estate sales, thrift stores, and he almost had them. He almost got them all, but he didn't. And then like the stadium events one that Troy was talking about is worth how much money?
It depends, but it's like tens of thousands.
Yeah, it's super expensive. But then at the very end, I think he found it, but he didn't buy it, right?
I think he did. I think he came up like 20 games short on his list.
He almost made it.
Eventually had to, I think, go to the internet for stadium events. But I think he did end up making the deal. But
it was so cool because he had like a certain time frame, you know, that he was doing it. And he's like, we're not like, no eBay, no whatever. And it was fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it's called Nintendo Quest.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That sounds really interesting.
I know. Find it. It's got to be somewhere. It used to be on Netflix, but
I'm sure
I think it became so popular, they took it off. So now you have to pay for it somewhere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways.
But you're not going on a Nintendo Quest of your own. Not even with
maybe when he retires. Hey, who knows?
When you retire, you can become an official collector.
There you go.
That will be your job when you don't have a job.
Don't say that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sounds good.
Troy's like, that's why I came here today.
I will say, Troy's a very organized. He's right. He does not have an overload of stuff. Like I am a minimalist. I don't hang on to stuff. Like, you know how he said Charlene, like still had the box of his like Nintendo. My children will never have that because I get rid of everything.
Well, I'll be like, no, save that. They're going to want that
Troy
one day.
does save. Like, there's some toys. I'm just always like, well, they're done finding the joy in it.
True.
Let somebody else have the joy.
True.
So, like, I'll pass down like toys and stuff. There are things Troy's like, do not get rid of. Like, they're Thomas the Trains.
Yep.
Star Wars stuff. You know, those kind of things. He's like, don't. Because this is a side story. Charlene sent him a box of his OG Legos.
Yeah.
And in the Legos, he found his Star Wars figures from the late 70s. And he saw it and he was like, don't touch that. You can't have that. Like, that's Obi-Wan. That's mine.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Take your little dirty paws off my Obi-Wan
It was just
Kenobi.
like in the Legos, and his eyes were like,
Yeah, that's a whole another thing. I had like literally every Star Wars
like
toy,
the original. Yeah.
and they have all disappeared through yard sales or whatever, other than like these one or two guys that got mixed in with the Legos. So that's why I'm like so thankful to have this stuff preserved, because
Yeah.
like all that other stuff is gone.
Yeah.
But
that's
okay.
such a gift. And I mean, I say to listeners all the time, I gotta go to my parents' house.
Yeah.
I'm like, because they downsized to a smaller house before my mom became ill with Alzheimer's disease, and so they did send me some things, but a lot of things just made the move because it was easier to just like box it up and be like, oh, because like I didn't live at home anymore. I think I was in Florida already, whatever. So there is all sorts of stuff down there that if I could just like go down and open up, I don't even know. I'd probably find like 10 more holiday Barbies, to be honest with you.
I need to come with you, and we can record while you're going through
That's
stuff.
actually a good
That
idea.
would be that's our next trip.
My dad would love that.
That would be a lot of fun.
He loves when I come to visit, and if I brought a friend, he would be like,
Oh, and we have
This
your
is the
dad
best day
on.
ever.
Oh my gosh, Katie's dad, next guest.
"Oh yeah, he's a really, he reminds me of you, Troy, in a lot of ways."
I like him.
Yeah, it's like he sounds great. When
amazing. Can I come?
we get him? Yeah, we'll bring Troy too. But yeah, he's very like direct and somewhat soft spoken. Although you've done an amazing job projecting today on the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go home and take a nap after.
I know.
all
I
this.
said he's gonna be so
like,
tired.
yeah.
Well, Brant gets like that. The first time I came over for our first episode or two to record with Katie, we used to record in her house before we
Yeah.
had this amazing studio space. And Brant was like, "Whoo, you guys are a lot."
Yeah, I'm worn out. Yeah, that's a lot of talking
And
in a
this
short
is
time.
coming from a man who has a wife, that's me, and 4 daughters. And
Wow.
a son who's pretty talkative too.
Yeah.
So
All your kids are pretty. Like
they're all pretty
they're all
talkative.
pretty interactive.
So yeah, but anyway. Well, that was really awesome.
Yeah,
So,
anything else? Do you have
anything
any-
else?
No, that's all I
Any
have.
closing thoughts? Okay.
No, I just thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yay! If you guys have loved having Troy, which I'm sure you have,
Of
let us
course.
know. He's not on our socials, but we'll show
And
it
he's
to
not really
him.
on socials at all, so don't even try and find
But
him to
we'll be
follow him.
We'll be like,
he ain't got
look,
it.
Troy, Xennial Gal 123.
Yeah.
Loves your
Loves you.
episode.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Look, see, now you may have to start your own podcast on
It's
video
true.
games.
Oh boy, I don't know about that.
Just
Look,
kidding.
you can just come here.
Yeah, just hang with you guys every now and then.
Yeah. There
All
we
right.
go.
Well, thanks again to Troy. Woohoo. Katie's husband's going to be a guest too, but we're not telling y'all what that's going to be about until he comes. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us today on Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast. If you liked what you heard today, make sure you share us with your friends of all generations, Xennial or not. Please make sure you rate us, review us wherever you listen. It helps us so much. You don't even know. So please give us the stars, give us the nice words. You can also become a monthly supporter over on Patreon, where you can give us your money.
Yeah.
So you'll get some bonus episodes and some other perks to TBD. Yeah. And also you'll help Katie pay rent here at the studio
Yeah.
with your $8.
And for our neon leopard print backdrop.
I know, which
That was not-
eventually we will film.
You'll see. I promise. Maybe we'll do a Patreon only to start with that and be like, look what you're funding.
Look at our curtain.
this. This is what your
Not
money's
even yet.
going to.
It's
Not even
beautiful.
yet. Anyway, thanks again for joining. And until next time, may all your days be filled with one-ups, stars, and princesses.
Oh, I don't know what that
Aw.
means, but but it sounds great.
Okay,
And
and Lyle's.
Lyle,
Lyle.
call me Lyle.
Okay.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.